Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Kenya is mourning because, for lack of a better term, that was massacre. Our heart goes to the families and friends who have lost their loved ones, and we want to condemn in the strongest terms possible the encounter at Parliament when Wananchi went to Parliament and they were massacred. Someone was telling me that this is your vote. This is the repercussion of your choice when you are given a chance to elect your leaders. Leaders who do not want to tolerate you in Parliament. As a matter of fact, they are in Parliament because we elected them to be there. Under the new constitution, we have a two-tier government. The county government and the national government, and all of them, all the members of parliaments, all the way from the MCA to the president, they are elected and we donate powers so that they can rule on our behalf. Something happened today. In the midst of all that fracas, because the members of parliament never thought that this kind of revolution, the protest that is led by the Gen Z, would reach a point where they can storm Parliament, because they had won. They had won the nation. In fact, they had declared today to be a national holiday, and they requested the parents to keep away their children, not to take them to school. True to their words, we have schools that closed for the midterm breaks. But the members of parliament never imagined that in the history of our nation, ordinary Mwananchi would get access to parliament. But they did, and they overpowered the security. They broke the fences and got into parliament building. They went to the cafeteria. They had a meal there. They enjoyed what their parliamentarians, their leaders have been enjoying. They took the mess. They went to the Senate. A lot happened, as you have seen from the pictures that are going viral. Now, when they realized that push had come to shove, their lives were in danger, the people who elected them to power, the people they neglected, had come so that they could share notes. They were immediately told that the only way they could be evacuated, the only way they could escape, was through an underground tunnel. And it was not going to, they were not going to use ordinary vehicles, because, you know, they have those fuel guzzlers, those big vehicles. Just by looking at those vehicles from far, they are very suspicious. You can easily tell, hii ni ya wale waheshimiwa. So the security apparatus that were there advised them that the only way you can get out from this parliament safe is by using ambulances. And ambulances were going to be used as a decoy. Why? People had been injured, and so their presence would not really raise a lot of suspicion, because it would be assumed they were there to help rescue people who had been injured, people who had been shot dead. So one by one, they got into the ambulances, and the ambulances drove away. But then the protesters realized something was not adding up, because the ambulances were coming, and instead of interacting with them, the ambulances were going into parliament, and then they are driving away. Then something clicked on them that hawa ni waheshimiwa. And at some point, they started inspecting. And I watched this video where they first opened the ambulance, the doors open, and ole wow, woo unto they were found that they were not patients, no one was sick, neither were the ambulances ferrying anyone who is dead, but the parliamentarians were hiding there. And they were beaten up because people were enraged. their colleagues had been killed and they were looking for retaliation. And the best way to retaliate was to act on the parliamentarians. It was a sad state of affairs because they have never seen such a thing before. Can you take it? So they faced the wrath of the people. It reminds me of a quote that I always like from the Bible, that the guilty ones are always fleeing, even when there is no one pursuing their lives. But the righteous men are as brave as a lion. Come to think of it, the members of Azimio were mingling very easily with people. In fact, at some point, Babu Owino had to escape through the fence, sneak through the fence, and he came to talk to those who were demonstrating because the parliament building surrounding had been cordoned off. No one was allowed to get in or to get out. But Babu Owino, who had earlier sent an invitation to those who were demonstrating to come to parliament, had to sneak because he would not be allowed to use the conventional method. So he used the most unconventional method, sneaked through the fence, and he came and addressed the people. All of them, the members of parliament, the senators, they went and they were mingling because they knew very well they had voted no, this bill that people do not want. So you can imagine that in 2022, these members of parliament were mingling with people, were promising them things, they were campaigning among these very people. Today, 2 years down the line, the common wananchi have become a menace, have become an enemy. They have to flee using ambulances. And perhaps this is a lesson to us. If you are seeking for leadership, ensure that you work for those who elected you. I told you that the parliamentarians had to show us who really elected them to power. Is it William Ruto whom they were supporting? Is it the wananchi? Because during the public participation, wananchi had voiced their concerns and they said, just like in the Finance Bill 2023, they had said, we don't want Finance Bill 2024. This time round, things were not like they thought because the generation that had taken over are the generation that is this generation that was used or misused during the campaigns, the youth, the Gen Z. And they could not believe it that this young generation could lead a rebellion, could lead a liberation that resulted into people getting into parliament. They have become enemies. And I don't know how they are going. Parliament is in recess. I don't know how they are going to mingle with the people because when parliament is in recess, you need to go back to your constituency and talk to your people. Perhaps this is the time when they should go and show the parliamentarians why they passed it, despite the fact that they should go to Wananchi and tell them why they passed it, despite the fact that the Wananchi had said, we don't want this bill. The president is about to address the nation, and I know there is going to be blame game of who is sponsoring this because they had started a narrative that maybe there is a country and they were pointing fingers were being channeled to Russia, that maybe Russia has got a hand in it. I don't think Russia has got a hand in it because this generation and the people of Kenya simply went on the street because they don't want the finance bill. It is very controversial. It contains articles that are not good for us. Before, in fact, by dawn, as we were waking up, we got news that bloggers like Gabriel Oguda had been arrested. Just to see, or the government is trying to find out if there are any people who are sponsoring this bill, who are sponsoring the demonstrations. But I said there is no one who is sponsoring the demonstrations. Demonstrations are sponsored by wananchi who are just concerned. A government which has refused to listen to them. The high cost of living, unemployment. Most of the generations that you saw on the street have got several certificates. They've got certificates rotting in the house. Some of them waited for a job to come they could not find, and so they decided to open some businesses which are also not doing well. These are the factors that sponsored these demonstrations. But for our members of parliament, they have learnt a lesson. For a very long time, they have taken us for a ride. They have taken us for granted. They never believed for once that people can storm parliament. But they had been warned, because even in church, the Gen Z had told them, don't come to church. We will not allow you. Some of them have been shut down. People like Gideon Ochanda had met the wrath of the people. This is a relationship between the people who voted you in, yet you ditch them and you want to support World Bank and IMF. It is a lesson well learned that we are serious when we elect you. Your role is to represent us, not to represent other things that did not take you there. We are the people who voted you in. So when you go there and start telling us that this is good for you, it is as if we do not know what is good for us. We saw you that you are good for us. That is why we elected you. You now come back and tell us what is good for us, yet we know how to choose what is good for us. We need to have a conversation so that we can avoid any kind of bloodshed. It is very sad that people are being killed on the street because of a bill that Kenyans had rejected. But as someone said, when we are given an opportunity to elect our leaders, we elect the wrong leaders and abandon or forsake the good ones. And we have to face the result of our decision. Every choices have got consequences. And I hope we have learnt our lessons. For the parliamentarians, it is just the beginning. The die is cast. I don't know how you will get back to your constituencies, because even your security will flee and leave you alone. That is my take.